Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Michigan Innovation Podcast. And we are very excited today to have Alex Eicher with us. And Alex comes to us from Traverse City, and he is with the Talon Group Title and Escrow Agency. How you doing today, Alex?
Very good. Thank you for having me, Rose.
Oh, you bet. And thank you for coming all the way down to Cadillac for this event. I know that our guest is, when you come down and take the drive to come to Cadillac, and especially on the roads like today, who would have thunk that on March 25th we would have to fight the icy road conditions?
They were a little bit rough this morning, but this afternoon they weren't too bad. So,
That's good to hear. Yeah, I went to Traverse myself this morning and I kind of I slid all the way there. So I just kept it under 80. How's that sound? Anyway, so we are going to go ahead and get started with this engaging conversation with Alex. Alex, tell us about you first. Our audience always wants to know a little bit more about the guest before we get into the innovation and the business at hand. So could you do that? Could you give us a little idea of who you are and what makes you tick?
so I grew up in Genesee County, a little town called Linden, Michigan, close to Flint, just south of there. So basically, I grew up in that area on a small lake called Lobdell Lake, and then eventually graduated from high school in 2010 and decided to pursue a further degree in broadcasting at Eastern Michigan University. So I graduated there in 2015, and I decided to take an internship to complete my degree up on Beaver Island with a small radio station because I thought that would be a good idea to pursue my career was in broadcasting was through that platform. So I moved up there and they had just went FM. Like I was literally up there when they put the tower up to go live across Beaver Island. It's the most remote radio station in Lake Michigan. Oh,
Wow.
well, it makes sense because it's the only radio station in Lake Michigan. So with that being said, I did a few months there and I got my internship done. I met an individual through my time on Beaver Island while doing my internship. His name was Steve Normandin, also known as Omelet with Northern Broadcasting at the time, also known as Omelet with KLT Radio.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
so
Celebrity.
yeah, so he moved. I moved down to Traverse City, I guess you could say, because of that individual, and he got me a job at KLT Northern Broadcasting of Hastings Street in Traverse City, Michigan. So that's where I kind of reside now. Fast forward, radio wasn't really for me, but having a background in the multimedia broadcasting stuff helped me transform into my career now, and I will get into that a little bit later. But I dabbled around in food and beverage sales over my career since like 2016 to 2023, and now I'm in title insurance.
Fantastic. Wow, what a breadth of experience. And we come from about the same part of the country. I'm from Owasso.
Okay.
So that's not too far from Linden and down there where it's all flat.
Yep.
Very flat area in Michigan. And Beaver Island, wow, that had to be very remote. And I've been out there once. It's beautiful, so rustic. And I bet that was not a lot to do those 2 months. Or
Well, that's a misconception about Beaver Island. There's quite a bit to do up there, actually. It depends on what you're into. If you like the outdoors, my family has been going up there for 70 years, so
wow.
that's basically why I went up there because it was a free place to stay. I got a place to work easily because I know of a lot of people because of my family.
Oh, that's
Um,
great.
and so I bartended and served on the side, and then also on top of that, like I said, a free place to stay. So that's basically why I did my internship up
So
there.
you're
So,
local,
uh,
almost
well,
as local as they come.
depending on who you talk to on the island, but I like to say that, I am an islander, as they say, but some people would disagree with that. I don't really care because my family's been going up there for 70 years. So,
Yeah, that's a long time. Wonderful. Well, that's a great story. What an amazing background. And now I'm intimidated by by you and this mic, because you definitely have spent time on microphones, haven't you? Being in the
Well, the
radio.
funny thing about it is, and maybe you can empathize with me. I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but a lot of people say you've got a face for radio. So I've
Yeah,
heard that joke quite a few times
I've heard that
in my
before too, and
career.
that's
So,
not true for you or
oh,
me. No. Anyway, I know I have heard that before, but it sounds, I know how passionate you are about the business you're in now. So let's go ahead and get right to it. Let's talk about the Talon Group Title and Escrow Agency and where you fit and what it's all about.
so post COVID, I worked at a company called Coca-Cola. Obviously, everybody's familiar with that. Sold food and beverage for a few years. And then I decided to further and advance my career with a company that was a little bit more for me individually. And I had always thought the real estate industry was kind of interesting as I follow the market and we were in transition of buying a home at the time. A few years ago, we have a home now, but I applied for the job, and as you know, a lot of individuals know that a lot of interviews nowadays are very scripted, or they're like you have to talk into a recording, right? And give you a conference recording, and I just don't like that. But with Talon, it was very uh, it felt what am I trying to say? Personable.
Hmm.
It was a great conversation. It was basically, just, it had a great feel to it. Like in my interview, they're like, "Hey, how do you feel about working on weekends?" I'm like, "Well, what does that entail?" And they're like, "Taking clients golfing." I was like, "Well, now you're speaking my volume." And they asked me what my handicap was in the interview.
Oh, there you go.
It's not amazing or anything like that, but like Talon, definitely had they definitely like had my sparked my interest because it had to be a fit on both sides. Like they had to have a driven, eager individual to pursue business and bring through business to the door, which that's what I'm employed to do. And then also it had to have a drive and a hunger and a thirst to sell our product. So.
Fantastic. Well, like sounds like got a winner here. And so that's what led you to the title industry. You were purchasing a home, you were looking for some employment. So now that you're there and you've been there, what are some of the eye-opening things that happened to you once you got on the job?
Eye-opening things. So the first eye-opening thing was like learning what title insurance was. If you're not familiar, title insurance insures a real estate transaction. So if I'm a buyer going in to purchase a home, I want to make sure that there's no issues with title backwards. So it doesn't insure forwards unless you're purchasing an enhanced policy. So we might get into that today or not. But it's going to look in the past history and to make sure there's no issues with their title, the chain of title back 40 years. So our underwriters will go back 40 years because they don't insure any further back than that. And then basically what that does is it looks at history of the property to make sure there's no liens, there's no the property is actually owned by the parcel that is actually selling it because there's a issue with fraud in our industry, and we can get into that in a little bit later.
Sure.
So once they have a history of the title, hopefully it's cleared up. And if it's not, or it's clear or cloud on title, what we call in our industry, we will look at to make sure, if there's any issues or cloud on title, how are we going to clear it up? Do we have to have additional work done with quiet title, or do we have to have an attorney involved? And so, with that being said, we try to move forward and get you insured to get to a closing table, and then we handle the funds in escrow. And we work with a lot of realtors and loan officers in the industry and attorneys and builders, for that matter. To get you through that process. There's a lot of different ins and outs that we do with each one of those individuals that I try to pursue their business. But for the most part, that's basically what we do is we insure title on the owner's policy side to make sure there's no issues from the seller. And then there's another product called a loan policy. And then that
Wait,
sure,
can
go
I
ahead.
stop you
Sorry.
for a
Go
second,
ahead.
Alex? I think that just so that we're on the same page from terminology, is cloud on title a metaphor for that there's maybe some issues that are has arisen?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so cloud means maybe not smooth sunny skies.
Defect, issues with title, same difference. It's just a
Okay,
term that we use
sure.
in the title world is cloud on title. Same thing
And
as a defect or
I
issues with
gotcha.
title. So
And what did you mean when you said quiet title?
so let's say that there is a need for an individual to be added to a parcel. And so we have to, or like, let me give you a specific a scenario.
Sure.
So we had a situation where this title company was not getting the job done, so we picked up this deal, and then we had searched back and we found additional issues, cloud on title with this parcel. So we had to search, and we've dug up that that it hadn't been recorded since the 60s, so we had to go back further and then go reach out to the deceased basically family, and we had to go through like attorneys and courts and stuff like that since there was no the deceased family wasn't alive, so we had to go get quiet title through the attorneys, through the courts,
I follow
to
you.
get things moving forward, to
Right.
get basically them to sign off that say it's okay, well, we can move forward with the non ownership of the property and basically go with the individuals that are trying to purchase it. Does that make sense?
It
Trying to
does.
explain in
I
layman's
I
terms.
know. I mean, I can imagine, land lasts forever, and I'm sure that happens more frequently than you would think. And so thank you for that explanation. This is the Michigan Innovation Podcast, so let's talk a little bit about technology. What has happened with technology in recent years? So many things change all the time with technology. What have you seen go down in the title industry?
Um, Technology wise, so like I could tell you something that my company's currently working on. So we're trying to implement strategies to simplify things for our clients. So with that being said, a lot of clients like to be communicated in a certain manner. So we have created a platform such as SMS texting.
Mhm.
And so our clients can text us now if they wish, and we can text them back and then use that as a form of communication. Because some of our clients, excuse me, have other jobs. So it's a tough market right now. So if you're a realtor and you are doing business, and that's great. But then let's say you're a teacher, because I have clients that are teachers on the side, and
Sure.
then they can't text, or they can't excuse me, get on the phone. They can either send emails or text messages. So they can send a quick text message instead of an email, a little bit more of a less informal way to communicate and to us, so we can reach out to them via that way. Additional to that, there's some things that I'm working on, and we're trying to implement to our businesses through artificial intelligence. And so that's kind of something that's in the works.
Hmm.
But I have some classes coming out next year that are on the AI subject. Not really too in depth about that currently, but we're learning how to simplify by adding value to real estate agents so they can learn how to do that for their jobs.
Awesome. So another question, you have a lot of skills, I see, Alex. So it sounds like you are an educator as well as a salesperson.
Yeah, so like what I do for my job and what my role in the title industry is it's a little bit different than any other title companies. A lot of title companies sometimes will have affiliated business agreements, joint venture, and what that is it is a shared agreement with a title company, a contract, if you will, where you send a certain amount of business, and then I get an investment back in dollar figure from certain amount of title company, depending on what I invest into them. So we don't do that. So what we do is we provide value. So what was your question again?
Well, you mentioned a moment ago that you are going to
Oh yeah.
create courses in AI,
Yep.
and that made me think, he must be an educator about certain things, and it sounds like you're developing an AI course for real estate.
Yeah. Um, so basically, what I do instead of having an affiliated business agreement, what we do as a company is we provide value to our real estate agents. Not only do we succeed and excel in, uh, um, communication and things of that nature, and make sure people get a timely response, but we focus on like adding value. So what I do for my job is I teach a lot of educated courses on I've taught stuff on YouTube. I've got a certified course for CE credit for a real estate license on creating a professional YouTube channel. I've got another course on helping agents learn how to utilize their phone for editing stuff, how to create a professional listing video with your smartphone, utilizing small little tips and tricks and just to making your video content looking better. I tell a lot of my clients, since they're afraid to get in front of the camera, I say you're not a secret agent. I actually got that from another real estate agent, so I can't take all the credit. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but like it's just like a great platform to be able to grow your business, and then people are getting to know you without actually meeting you. So mainly what I teach, I've taught a lot of other courses before on like fraud tech, theft protection, which is title and fraud stuff. But I really try to focus on my content isn't all about title. Yes, I teach about title insurance, sure, the basic stuff, but for the most part, I try to focus on stuff that adds value to realtors.
Mhm.
And instead of a, hey, I'll send you money for business, kind of buy it in relationship, because all if you're ever going to be as a dollar, that's all you're going to be known as. What I try to do is I provide you value to keep you front of mind with your clientele to get you to the closing table. And then in return, I ask for an opportunity to do business if your clients would like to do that.
What a great idea. In November I went off to see Tony Robbins, UPW, and one of the things which is Unleash the Power Within, where you walk on the coals and you jump up and down for 4 days. And one of the things Tony always says in his business mastery as well is add more value than anybody else. And that is the sheer way for success. And sounds like you believe that as well.
I do, and I can't take all the credit for it. So, like, one night I was up late and I was like, okay, so basic sales, I've got a sales background. I've been working for multiple companies. Like, what do we do differently than everybody else? Okay, yeah, we're independent. We don't have an affiliation with any brokerage or anything like that. Okay, or one individual. That's great. Okay. And okay, what else do we do than everybody else? Well, we've got all these products and services, and those are great, and all. Don't let me take away from that. But like, what do we really do different than everybody else? Not much. So I was up late one night, and I was on YouTube. Obviously, it's funny that I teach YouTube classes now, and so I was like, how to sell title insurance. Literally typed that in. This dude popped up. I took his 3 month course. I'm not gonna share his information because I don't want to give it away to my competitors, but you can look it up yourself, I guess. But it's I guess it's kind of out there. I've been talking about it for a while. So I took his 3 month course, and it was basically the whole gambit behind it was adding value, 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 and we're in a relationship industry, so not no conversation is a bad conversation. So what I mean by that is like, hey, like I came in here today to your building, and you have
Mhm.
a law office, right? Like
Right.
Rose's daughter is a real estate attorney. So
Yes.
right there, got a business card and made a good connection. Might lead to business later on
Yeah.
down the line. So it's all about relationships. And no conversation is a bad conversation, because there's some people that don't do business with me. They have an opportunity to send business, but they just don't. But like I have a great relationship with them, and then I go into the room and I say, hey, like who do you feel like would be a good connection for me? And then from those conversations, I gain tons of business by making connections with other individuals.
Excellent.
So,
Excellent. I really believe that you're onto something. Now, when you create these courses, are they all YouTube based, or do you also offer them on a platform other than YouTube, or is it all on YouTube?
I mean, I teach them on Zoom, if that's what you're alluding to.
Okay.
So like, I'll teach content courses, like not just YouTube, but video courses. I've taught on theft protection. I've taught a class for lenders and like how to add value to real estate agents. It's basically the same kind of stuff that I implement for my job. It's just adding value to realtors. And basically it's just doing something outside of just being a transactional relationship individual, right?
Sure.
Like especially specifically for a real estate agent, for having a relationship with a title company. Like a lot of title companies, what they'll do is they'll just insure title and that's it. They don't do anything else out of that. They don't follow up with their clients. They don't add do anything else except for just, hey, I'll send you business, and this is the only way it's going to work is
Hmm.
by having that kind of relationship.
Well, you bring up
So,
a point that, everyone does business in their own way. What are some of the misconceptions that people have about insurance, this title insurance and real estate transactions? what can we help clear up some misconceptions on the podcast today?
So a lot of people don't view title insurance as an important factor, or they won't view it as a necessary thing to have. So number one, if you're going to have a mortgage, no matter what, the financial institution is going to require title insurance because they want to make sure that they're going to have any, uh, they're not going to accrue any issues, like such as a second mortgage. Title insurance is very important for the simple fact of what's going on in the industry right now, like I had alluded to before. For one basic thing, you want to make sure that the people that are selling the property own it.
Right.
And there's a lot of other factors such as you don't want to accrue a second mortgage, you don't want to accrue back taxes that are owed, you want to make sure that the property lines are good. So with that being said, like the big main thing that I try to sell right now is enhanced or expanded policies, depending on which underwriter you work with. They call it differently. And so what that is, it's an additional 10 to 15 increase in pricing on an owner's policy, which ensures the buyers that there's no issues from the sellers with title, and it gets you way more coverage. And the area I really try to focus on there is the futuristic session. Yes, I had said that title insurance shares the past, but it also ensures the future in certain regards. And so some of the stuff in that enhanced expanded policy, additional coverage is it will ensure forgery, encroachments on the property, and things of that nature. So if you're going in a real estate transaction, I would highly recommend getting an enhanced or expanded policy. And it's not much more of an increase in pricing. Depending on which underwriter you work with, it might actually be free. So.
Well, I think that maybe the problem with that misconception is that as a first-time home purchaser, someone who's really not familiar with mortgages, and you're going to look at the price sheet, you're not even aware of this new expense. So sometimes it's presented to you by the real estate agent like as new news at the time you're shown the final paperwork and the documents. And so and then it's basically, well, here's your title insurance, without really a good explanation of what the way you just described it. So it's almost like an afterthought, or it's a fee that, so that's, I think, where that misconception comes in. And then it's fairly probably very difficult to upsell if they don't even know for sure. Like for me, maybe I'm unusual, but when I wasn't aware when I bought my first few homes, really, why that new line item was, I mean, buying the house for, X thousands of dollars, and oh, and all of a sudden we have all these new added fees. And so I think that being more with podcasts like this and education like this, we can definitely inform, that first time home buyer that it is adding value and it's necessary. And then you can have the opportunity to embellish it once they understand what it is. Does that make sense?
So one of my biggest things, absolutely, yes, it does. And one of my biggest things that I tell our agents, doesn't matter if you're new or an older agent, is like, look at your commitment package. And so what that is basically is your title insurance in a nutshell, and what and things we won't cover. And one of the biggest issues right now that we're dealing with in the greater Grand Traverse area in Wexford County, where we are in Cadillac right now, which is Wexford County, is the how do I explain this in layman's terms? So the register of deeds in Wexford County got frauded.
Right.
So
It was a ransomware attack.
yeah, so it's blackmail
Right.
basically, and they're trying to get money. And I don't really, the feds don't really explain to us all the details, but basically they're like, "Hey, give us X amount of money, otherwise we're gonna do whatever we want with this information." So they shut the system down. Now they have to go back through and update all the information. So with that being said, that's why it's so important to have title insurance. And right now they're in the works of updating the system, and we don't know what that's going to look like going forward. They're saying within the next couple of weeks it'll get up and running. Here we are in March, we'll see.
When did that
But
happen? That
in
was
November of 2023 or
oh,
2024,
yeah.
excuse me. Yeah.
So November, December, January, February, March, 5 months of no. action?
So,
I
so
mean,
as of like the
limited,
last couple
like
of limited, yeah. So like we will look at a policy. We have 3 underwriters. We work with 5 that will look at Wexford County, but you have to have a prior. What I mean by a prior is you have to have a prior title work. So at some point in time, you've closed on your home, and if you're able to give us that documentation, because we can't get it from the register of deeds, obviously, because they don't have any information and they're backing up the system. Um, and if you're able to provide that to us, we will look at it. But the caveat to it is there will be extra exemptions in your title work that will say we will not insure this, 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 this. So financial institutions look at that, or
Yeah,
a buyer might look at that and they're going to say, "Oh, I'm on the hook," or the financial say, "I'm on the hook if
wow,
this pops up
right.
later down the line
No
if I
one wants
purchase
to take
this."
the risk.
So it's not great title insurance, but we will look at it. But it's so important to have title insurance in general, just because of that factor. Additional to making sure that you have good title insurance too. So it might not be the best opportunity to purchase a home right now in Wexford County, but if you're in a dire need, you might have another option. So.
Well, I appreciate you being so open and honest and candid about that problem. And I know they've got a lot of really hardworking people here in Western County trying to figure that out. And Godspeed to them, because I know coming from an IT background that that's just a nightmare. So let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about entrepreneurship and growth. And so, what challenges have you faced in growing this business? You came in the door and it was at such and such, and I'm sure your team is looking for you to grow it. How have you overcome, how do you have any challenges, and
mm.
how is that going? How's growing the business happening
So
for
what
Talon Group?
So what I alluded to earlier about having an affiliated business agreement, a joint venture, whatever you prefer on calling it, where you buy in shares with a title company, whether you be the brokerage or an individual, there's 2 different types of things. That's my biggest uphill battle, is selling against that, because I do not have money to give, or my company doesn't have money to give.
Give who?
So an individual that buys into a title company or a brokerage.
Okay,
So
so the business model, just so I understand it, in the title industry is that there's a shared ownership
yes,
in with the different stakeholders in a transaction.
yep.
So a title company A and real estate company A may have a joint venture to go after the business as a team.
Yeah, so like
And
a
your company does not
no, we're
do that.
completely
You're
independent.
independent. And
So it sets us apart on the regard of
so you
adding
you don't
value.
have a lot of alliances that you have to coddle to, whereas you can be more value based. Is
Yeah,
that right?
yeah, exactly. So it allows us to do lots of things. A lot of affiliated business agreements, joint ventures, what have you, whatever you want to call it. They have a lot of times a lack of customer service, speed, transparency, communication is what we focus on, and they don't necessarily always have those abilities because they give out money to their clientele in return for business with buying into shares.
I
So
follow
they
you.
have an investment into the company, and but the title company has to give out dividends. So
Hmm.
with that being said, it doesn't allow them to employ staff and be able to handle the amount of business that they bring through the door.
That's true.
Whereas Talon, which is the largest employed staff title company in Grand Traverse County. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I pride myself on that because I
Awesome.
love
Well, that's all about growth.
I love it, and we're independent, and so what we do is I bring business to the door. My company brings business to the door, by adding value to realtors, by selling our products and services, by offering products to save clients money,
Hmm.
whatever it might be. Focusing on speed, transparency, and communication, having the ability to handle the amount of business that we bring through the door by getting back to people, getting stuff done quicker.
Hmm.
And so that's what we do differently than our competition. And so it's hard to sell against the affiliate business agreement because I don't have money to give to
Sure.
anybody.
Sure.
So I have to sit here and say, hey, look, I can add value to you on multiple regards. Some people aren't interested in video. So you got to figure out like, what an individual needs. And sometimes like I'll pursue business for an individual for a year and a half. Like I had an individual this morning who sent me 2 transactions, but it took a year and a half. But you just got to find till the right moment clicks. Something clicks with that individual. And
Mhm.
there's multiple tools in my bag. It just depends on if I'm talking to that individual about what they need at that certain time. And sometimes a title company might have to mess up too in order for me to earn that
Sure.
business. But like another individual I spoke with recently, I finally just brought up to them, hey, what if I teach a Con Ed course to your brokerage? And then all of a sudden, she sent me a text like a couple weeks later, and she said, hey, you've earned our business. Great job, keep it up. And so that gives me back to like last winter. I had been in the industry for less than a year at the time, and it's almost been 2 years now. And I was getting frustrated with myself. I was super getting down, and somebody spoke to me. I was at a business networking individuals meeting at the time, and this individual came in as a guest, and he said consistency. So when he said that to me, like I just stuck it through it, and I kept doing what I do, and now like I'm bringing in 30 40 deals a month in the wintertime, and I'll probably be doing 50 to 100 deals
Oh,
that I'm bringing
fantastic.
through the door during the summer months,
Congratulations.
hopefully.
That's
So
great news. That's such great news. What advice would you give to someone who wants to get into real estate, as an agent or as a mortgage broker or in your field, just in general? How is the real estate industry these days?
It's tough. It's real tough, not gonna lie. I'm pretty open and honest and candid with people. It's real tough. And so one, don't really focus on the market. The market doesn't control you. You control excuse me. The market doesn't dictate you.
Okay.
You dictate yourself, and how you utilize your strategies and strengths can be done in different stuff. So don't focus on the market. Focus on what you're going to do today to bring business to the door for yourself, to put dollars in your pocket, to put money in your company, right? Whatever, right? So the biggest thing that I would say is like utilizing your strengths. So I meet with realtors, and I'm like, hey, like what are you good at? Like for instance, like I'm good at hunting and fishing. And so I met with a realtor who resonates with that recently. I'm like, bro, utilize that to your strength. He goes, what do you mean? I'm like, YouTube, man. He's already got a channel. Like he's talking about hunting and fishing. I'm like, talk about how there's these great parcels in Kalkaska County that are vacant land parcels. Then there's been, X amount of deer shot or whatever in that area. Or like, so let's talk about fishing. So like, I go out and fish this lake, shoot a video content around it, and I'm catching big old bass or walleye or whatever. And oh, guess what? There's also um, three properties that are for sale in here. I'd love to work with you. Reach out to me. So implement, or like this other lady, she owns a painting store, and she has gets business in that regard. I said like host client appreciation events and talk about your painting company. And then guess what else? I'm also a realtor.
Mm,
I mean, utilize your strengths, and then on top of that, the last thing would be like do something else that nobody else is doing. Like for instance, for title, nobody else is doing what I do.
mhm,
I mean, there's other people that said, "Oh yeah, I've done what you've done before in the title world." No, you haven't. No, I'm sorry,
mhm.
but I'm not trying to brag or anything. But like, I am not an escrow staff. I don't examine title. I am solely out here trying to add value to realtors and make relationships with people and figure out how to drum up business. That's all I do.
Hmm. Excellent, excellent. Focus. I'm listening to Brian Tracy's book called Focal Point right now, and he would love what you just said because it's all about focus and, playing to your strengths. And so I really appreciate that. It sounds like you've learned a lot of lessons in your life as a DJ, as in Coca-Cola sales and now in real estate where I see you really have a brain for a complex area as well as adding value. What would you say is the one thing that really transitioned you and put you on this trajectory?
I finally found something I like to do that resonated with me. So I mean, whether or not you're a firm believer in the Father, what I mean by that is
Oh yeah,
I have a faith
yes, me
in
too.
God,
Yeah,
and I don't give him enough credit sometimes. So I guess I wasn't planning on talking about this, but the moment came up, and maybe it's the Holy Spirit speaking
sure.
to me right now. And so what I mean by that is, before I started this job, I said, Father, I'm like, I have some great jobs, but I want to be able to, you know, find something that's really hits where I'm clicking to it and I love it. I have a passion for it. Like, and so it's not just work, right? So
Mhm.
I asked him, I said, hey, like, I want to be able to utilize the skills and a value add proposition that I've learned from my other jobs, but I also want to be able to do stuff that I love to do and implement into business.
Mhm.
I mean, that's exactly what I got.
Oh,
I get to hunt.
answered your
I
prayers.
not hunt, but I get to fish and I utilize it for business instead
You
of
hunt
take.
for customers.
No, well, I mean, I might give a customer like a pound of venison, but I don't really hunt with customers. I mean, it might be
I say you hunt for
oh, hunt for them. Yeah, yes, yes, hunt for them. Yeah, but like I take clients like fishing sometimes, so I love to do that. I mean, it's in my opinion better than golf, but like he answered my prayer, 100%.
Awesome. Well, I also know, I hope you don't mind that I bring this up, but I
Sure.
know you do have a growing family too.
Uh-huh.
And you have twins on the way?
Yeah. So, we've got a 1 year old, almost two in May. So she'll be in a month and a half. She'll be 2 years old, and then we've got my wife and I, Katie. We've got twins. That kind of threw a curveball. We found out about that a couple months ago. So we got identical twin boys on the way in July.
Oh,
So.
fantastic. Well, I can't wait to see them and meet Katie and your kids. And I just love watching because when you thrive, your family thrives. And when you're happy, I'm sure that makes them happy.
Yeah, and so like a lot of people think that they might think, I don't know, why I'm out here and I have so much passion and energy for my job. A, because I love it, because B, because God answered my prayers, and C, because I'm trying to provide for my family.
Absolutely. I could tell that about you from day one. So let's get into some fun facts here. What's the most unusual and memorable real estate transaction you've been a part of that really just threw you on your butt?
I had an answer for this, but I might just do out something off the top of my head right now. So, um there was a transaction, and it's usually always the like messed up ones that always resonate with you the most, I guess. But we picked up a transaction from another title company downstate where they wouldn't take care of the deal, and so we got it, and our my company had to jump through some hoops with some legality stuff, and we ended up finding actual additional issues that the other title company couldn't find. So with that being said, long story short, it was a big deal. It was actually the biggest one I brought through the door, and we got quite a bit of revenue from it, and we got the deal closed. And so what I'm trying to say is basically that we will take the oddball ones, and we would love to earn your business on regards of making sure that you're taken care of in the hard transactions, I guess. So.
What can a homeowner do to avoid headaches, or a home buyer or a real estate person? What can you do ahead of time? Let's say you're just getting started. How can I avoid some of those headaches that you've mentioned?
Um,
I know
ahead
buying the
ahead
it's
of time. So like ahead of time, like I would with your whether you're working with your realtor or not, I would work with a local employed title company. How we doing on time?
great.
Doing okay? Okay. I would work with a local title company, and there's a thing called preliminary title. And what that is it ensures that you're not going to have any issues with your per piece of real estate. So if I'm a buyer, I'm going to talk with my agent, or I'm just going to sell my home for for sale by owner. By the way, I recommend everybody work with a real estate agent. You're
So
gonna,
that's an important reminder.
yeah.
So why?
Um, Hands down, the statistics show, and I don't want to get into all the statistics that you're gonna get.
Well, give us the top three reasons I should go with a real estate agent.
Well, they're employed to be out there hunting for you to get you the best deal. One. Number two, they have marketing people out there that are going to shoot real estate content for you that comes out of the commission, so you're not paying additional money. So let's say a nice video. And then three, they're working with industry individuals that they know specifically that they might be able to pull some extra strings to get you that
And they
best
know the
offer.
inventory that's out there right now,
Yup,
right?
yep. So whether you be on the buy side or the sell side, they're gonna hands down always get you the best offer. And now there might be some cases where you have an offer from for sell by owner, which that's great and all. And we have a product to offer to you. But I think and I believe the statistics show that overall real estate agents will get you for the best bang for your buck.
Excellent. I think you're right about that. But I know that there's a lot of free spirits out there that just want to do it their way. And so it's good that you cater to their own whatever they want to do. You're there for them, it sounds like.
Yeah, we would do both. And I think preliminary titles is important too because that clears up title way in advance. So like if you send us your address, that's all we need, whether you're working with an agent or not. We will clear up the title in advance and get you a preliminary commitment package to say, hey, this is clear, or hey, this is what we need
Oh, that's a
to get.
fantastic
Yeah, and
idea.
it doesn't cost anything. So we will clear it up in advance. And if there are issues, we'll get those cleared up in advance to make sure that we get to the closing table faster. Whereas if you submitted the order later on and there's a purchase agreement, if there's issues with title and it might take
And
it
it's
prolongs the process to get to
stress
closing.
stress level goes way up
It can
because
add stress level, especially if there's issues with title. So
right. That's a very good idea. I appreciate that. And so what's next for you in your business?
just getting better every day and figuring out how to do my job. Like, so some individuals just want to be friends with me, and that's cool and all. Uh, I've got this AI thing on my mind right now. We've got some stuff coming out, right now, that we're gonna learn how to do and implement for business for our own company, and then also how to do it and teach it to real estate agents or loan officers and helping them improve their business. And then like I said before, we don't have an affiliation with anybody, so I will never reach out to an individual and be like, "Hey, send me business for X." Like I say, "Hey, like I'm going to offer you value, and then if you like to do business with us and your clients would like to do business with us, we'd love to earn your business." So there's no set written contract agreement. We just add value to realtors and whatever their needs are. So it's like one individual's needs might be completely different than somebody else.
So you how do you get new customers?
All referral based mostly. Just like a realtor, to be honest with you. So like I'll meet you, you introduce me to your daughter. It's perfect scenario. Same thing with any other individual. I'm involved with a lot of different organizations. And the reason I got introduced to this podcast was from Brayton Farr, who's a
Yes,
client. He's
amazing.
dealing with a couple of transactions with us right now. So it's all about who you know. That's really all it is. And then like I go into a situation and maybe that person is not for me, but like I always try to say no meeting's a bad meeting because you can always say, "Hey, like do you know anybody that might be a good fit for me?"
Excellent. I know that's a great, I mean, it's about being adaptable and being flexible. So I've learned a lot today. I hope you have too. And I'm talking to the audience, and maybe you've learned a little bit, but I know we have, and we appreciate Alex. Alex, you sound like you've got a lot coming out in the area of AI, adding more value. If I asked you to join us, and again, in 6 to 9 months or 12 months, you can maybe bring pictures of the babies.
Yep. I mean, a year ago, if I did this podcast, I mean, I wouldn't even been able to speak to half or three quarters of the stuff that I am right now. So I'm sure that a year from now, it might look a whole lot different than right now. So.
Excellent, excellent. And I want to hear about how AI is affecting the title, mortgage, and real estate business. And so, before we go, do you have any uh, pressing things that you'd like to share with our audience before we call it a day?
Work with a local independent title company that knows what they're doing. A lot of title companies will farm out their services, and all of our staff is in-house and self-employed. If you're also looking to grow your business through AI, social media, videography, multimedia, reach out to me.
Well, let's talk about that. How do we get a hold of you?
You can reach out to me. My phone number is 810-836-0086. My email is A Eicher. We'll put that information on the screen, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, A Eicher at talongrouptitle.com, or our website is talongrouptitle.com. You can reach out to me. We're Talon Group Talon Group Title and Escrow Agency in Traverse City, Michigan.
Excellent. Well, we'll put that all in the show notes, and if you need anything in the area of real estate, title, or referrals to mortgage or real estate, you know who to talk to. And it's this guy, Alex. And so,
Thank you.
yeah, you bet. And with that, thanks a lot, Alex. I've enjoyed
Oh,
you today
thank
so
you.
much. You bet. And with that, we hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.